muffins and supplies, but you need a place to track your stuff, cause you're so disorganized. You click open the web page, you heard about a critical role, and now you're ready to kick some butt in that mine shaft full of no's. It's TNT, TNT Beyond, yeah, TNT, TNT Beyond. You got your stats, you got your souls, and you got your invisible wall. It's TNT, TNT, TNT Beyond.
D&D. Oh, hello. You caught me. It is so catchy. Hi, I'm Adam Bradford, the product director for D&D Beyond, and thank you for joining me for this year's final development update for D&D Beyond. You're going to also have plenty of time to ask questions today. We've got a lot of ground to cover as always, so we're going to just jump right in. So today's lineup, we're going to talk about latest updates, the winter cleaning that we have talked about for a few weeks here, kind of give a broad update on where we are with that as we close out the year. And then I am sure that many of you have heard the news about Curse and fandom. So I'm going to talk about that for just a second. We had many questions come in about that. So we're gonna, I'm gonna talk to that and talk about our excitement involving that entire deal. And then we're gonna do a data update, and I'm calling this kitchen sink because we're gonna just look at three not terribly related things, but they are things that I've seen come up as requested data points that people want to see over the course of the year. And so I'm going to get into those and show those numbers off, and really importantly, talk about how data helps us make decisions, especially prioritization decisions. So we'll get into that too. As always, talk about what is in progress. We'll talk about what is upcoming. Today, we're going to look at a very simple wireframe for content management. We looked at the encounter builder last week, and people really responded positively to that. And that was actually very helpful for us to see that the initial thoughts and directions that we have for that very important tool as we get into 2019 is being validated by some portion of the community that's seeing it. So we're going to do the same thing with content management today, and then we will round up any questions that we possibly have at the very end. And, I think it's like the holidays, so we may give out a few legendary bundles at some point in time. So we'll see how that goes. All right, let's see. Got to click all around here. So on the latest updates front, winter cleaning. I don't even expect you to probably be able to read the text that's on this slide, but I wanted to give you a little bit of a window into some of the specific things that we have been doing over the course of about the last month or so that are bug fixes, platform maintenance type activities. And just to let you know, this is only about a third of the list. So this is all I could fit on a single slide, and I wasn't going to sit here and go through, 3 slides for this. But we are doing several things to tidy up and to make sure that we're in a good place as we go into 2019. As I've told you, the team is growing, even as we kind of get into the early part of next year. And so we're trying to make sure that as we scale and as all this exciting stuff is happening, that we are building all of that on a very firm foundation. So this is really important work that we're doing, and we almost always kind of designate December and kind of the last month of the year as a time for us to really dig into that, to make sure that the house is clean. And so this is a really important effort, and I wanted to give you just a piece of the picture of what's actually going on with the winter cleaning. Like I said, this is about a third of the list that we went through as a team a couple of days ago. All right, so I am sure that you have heard about the fact that we are joining forces with fandom So Fandom and Curse Media's common mission, so this is a mission that both companies have shared for many years, is to provide online tools and resources for communities in the entertainment and gaming spaces. Obviously, D&D Beyond falls into that bucket. One of the reasons that we took on D&D Beyond in the first place is because as I entered Curse, I knew that Curse's expertise in being able to deliver these kind of experiences would really fit well with the Dungeons and Dragons space. And so we're going to continue doing those things. And by us coming together with Fandom and us being able to be aligned in those missions, we're going to be able to expand our resources, provide better support for our communities. And I know, I'm going to be really real with everybody here, I know that some of that's going to sound like marketing speak, because I know that you have to speak about things in an exciting way for something to sound like marketing speak. But I genuinely am excited. I couldn't be more excited about joining forces with Fandom. First of all, everything about Dungeons and Dragons and where D&D itself is headed, this is not just a game anymore. This is a franchise that cares about fans. So it's not just D&D players playing D&D. It is D&D fans loving D&D on a daily basis. And D&D Beyond has been a big part of trying to, put new things out daily where fans can have a place to come and gather and be a community and all of those other great things. And so I really, really like Fandom's mission and their goals and what they're trying to do. And even some of the changes that the company has made over the course of the last half year or so. I think it is a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for us. You have heard me month after month come into these development updates and answer questions about, yeah, we're going to get to that soon. Yeah, we're going to, get to that one of these days. Yes, I wish that we had more development resources where we could do more, better, and quicker. And so the only thing that is actually changing for D&D Beyond, you can rest assured, is that we are going to tap into those expanded resources in order to deliver this extensive roadmap. I mean, I talk about the roadmap with you guys all the time, and you are seeing about 1/100th of that roadmap. I'm not even exaggerating. I'm pretty sure that if I showed what I talk about with you versus everything else that's on that list, it is huge. I need to make it into a scroll and do one of those crazy movie things and just let it unfold for feet and feet and feet. There is so much that we have on our plate that we plan to do and that we fully intend to do over the course of these years. And this deal is going to put us in a place where we're going to be able to do that better than we have been able to. We're going to be able to get resources. And I am terribly excited about the fact that maybe when we are doing this next holiday season, I'm not going to be talking about how strapped we are and how much we need resources and all those other things. I am really excited. So we are going to stop right here because I know that this is an issue that we received many, many questions about. And I'm going to see if we have questions because I know that we have a few. And I'm going to go look at those. Let's see. So Lauren, Oboe Crazy Urban, is in the chat with you right now. And she compiled some questions from social media. And that's what I am going to dig into first. And so the major question that we saw come in that probably kind of summarizes things the best is from Jason Shamblin. Hopefully we can learn more about Fandom buying Curse Media, including D&D Beyond. I'm concerned that the new overlords may adversely impact the future of Beyond. So a couple of things here. I just shared with you what this is actually meaning for D&D Beyond. The other thing is the use of, and I understand that we're going for some hyperbole here, but the use of the word overlord also indicates that this is a parent company coming in and treating Curse in a way that is not actually part of this deal. In the truest sense of the term, we are joining forces and we are really, really committed. So it's not an us versus them thing at all. It is an us thing. And so we have joined forces and we are going to do some incredible things for D&D Beyond. Another thing with fandom itself, and there's a Reddit post out there that I'm sure people can find with some pretty easy Googling that I have been engaging in starting last night, engaged a little bit in, and you can read a whole lot of other details there. But one of the things that has come up in that Reddit thread is talking about the fact that fandom has made some changes, some fundamental changes, in the last 8 or 9 months. And there is a strong commitment. And so during the course of this whole thing, as we've been talking back and forth, there's a strong commitment to the mission that I just laid out for everyone here. And I believe that, we can understand how people can feel about reputations in the past. I remember I use, parables and stories and anecdotes and similes and metaphors and everything else all the time. People make fun of me for it, to be honest. But I'm going to use an example of Hardee's. So we're going to talk about Hardee's. I can tell you very easily. Now, I don't eat a lot of Hardee's these days, but in my younger days, Hardee's used to be the absolute last place that I would ever go for a cheeseburger. Why would I ever go there? It was utterly disgusting. They developed a horrible relationship or a horrible reputation at making cheeseburgers. And then something happened and their company really got committed to making the best cheeseburger. And over time, we saw changes in management, changes in strategy, all kinds of things going on. And all of a sudden, Hardee's became the first place I would go for a cheeseburger. Now, admittedly, I don't know anything about them these days, so please don't, take this story out of any kind of context of me, 15 years ago. But that was this amazing transition. I've seen that even Domino's Pizza has started to do some really, really incredible things on that front as well. I am ultimately sharing those stories to say that the past is the past, and we all learn from it. And we as a combined force are going to learn from all these things, from all the experience that Curse has, from all the experience that fandom has had through all these years. And we are forging a new path ahead that is going to accomplish this goal of providing the absolute best online tools and the best things for our communities of fans out there. So again, I feel really strongly about all of those things. And I could not be more excited. Let's see if we have any other specific questions. And to be honest, I don't know where to look. Oh, I found it. All right, here we go. Let's see. Professor Nightshade, with the joining of fandom and Curse, what exactly does that mean? Does fandom now own Curse? What changes can we expect to our accounts and legendary bundles? When can we expect these changes to roll out? I'll be perfectly honest about the ownership question. Like, I'm going to just punt that because the matter of fact is that from a legal standpoint, I don't even know how that works. But what I can say is, again, as I've been stressing right here, we're joining forces, and it is we are partnering together to make a single shared entity, and so that is a very important part of that. And even on the topic of and not to sound a little bit trite here, but on the topic of reputation and how reputation can change over time, I think that one of the biggest, best feathers in the cap that we could possibly, now this is my personal feeling, but that we could possibly say for, fandom and their desire to do that is the fact that they went out and acquired Curse. I think that is an excellent business decision that is going to help them achieve these goals. And so that gives me a great deal of respect for everyone that's been involved in this deal, because this makes a lot of sense. Now, on to accounts and legendary bundles. Nothing's changing. You're going to have your things like absolutely, from an operational perspective, we're not changing the way that any of those things work. When can we expect these changes to roll out? Again, you're not going to see any changes that are going to make you think, oh, hey, that's a fandom change. What you're going to start seeing is D&D Beyond just delivering more and more value. You're going to see an encounter builder in 2019. You're going to hopefully see a monster builder. We'll see how that goes. That's a big one. You're going to see us get into homebrew enhancements. You're going to see all of this roadmap being accomplished. Those are the changes you're going to see. You're not going to see other types of changes that are going to just immediately make you think, oh, that makes sense. There are some interesting opportunities here, though. The Forgotten Realms wiki, which is one of the most popular Dungeons & Dragons websites on the planet, is now part of our shared entity. There's some interesting things we could potentially do there. So it opens up some opportunities, but you're not going to be seeing anything that just seems like it is a mandated thing from either party, because we're entering into this knowing full well the value of the roadmap and the vision that we have set out for D&D Beyond. And the whole point is we're trying to accomplish that vision. All right, let's see what else we've got. Loud Noxious. What sort of influence will fandom have over product roadmaps and direction decisions, including how ads are placed, product cost, etc.? This is a good question. I think I answered a lot of that just then with my rambling, but I will talk specifically about ads, because I have seen that one come up in the Reddit post and elsewhere. D&D Beyond does not have display advertising as part of its core strategy. This is going to get into some probably fairly boring business terms for just a second, but I'm gonna peel back the I'm going to kind of open this up just for a second, and I promise I will try to be brief where it's not too terribly boring. But Curse Media and all media companies on the planet typically make all of their revenue via indirect advertising, which means you go to a web page and you see an ad and you potentially, hopefully click on an ad for those advertisers. That is how revenue is generated, and that historically has been how revenue has been generated for Curse. With the advent of ad block, this is becoming a big challenge for companies out there that are in media. Ad block is a real thing that is, creating a lot of problems for media companies. And so therefore, many media companies are looking for ways to go into something that is called direct user monetization, as opposed to indirect monetization. Direct user monetization means that we have a product or a service that we are directly selling to you, and we're not making money just from you coming and looking at ads. We are making money because we are providing something of value to you that you are purchasing and unlocking, in this case on D&D Beyond. So as you can see, D&D Beyond has moved Curse into a new type of strategy that is going to help us grow and sustain as a business going forward into the future. No part of that core strategy for D&D Beyond includes display advertisements. We see some of them on our sites, absolutely, but it is not a core part. It is not something, even if we went out and tried to add a whole bunch of, slow, bad ads to our site in some vain attempt to make more money, our layouts don't even support this on D&D Beyond. Everything is built thinking about you, the user, first, and not how we can get an ad in front of your face. So even if we went in there and started adding all these ads, it's not even going to impact our bottom line to a point that it's going to make sense for us as a business. So I hope you weren't too terribly bored by that, but I wanted to offer some reassurances that ads have not been central to anything that we've been doing up to this point, and nothing about that is going to be changing in the future. All right, let's see. Kyle, I'm not familiar with Fandom. What do they do? So Fandom is one of the largest, if not the largest, entertainment web network in the world. Most of that, they were formerly called Wikia. And so if you have gone to the Forgotten Realms wiki, for instance, you have used fandom products. So very big network that covers all types of fandoms, whether that is entertainment or comic books or Dungeons and Dragons, or basically a few of my favorite things. So all of those things provide a place for communities to come together and make wikis involving those communities. And again, a core part of the strategy is to start moving into some other types of verticals where we're doing some exciting things like D&D Beyond. All right, let's see. Camizillan. Will we need to unlink Twitch and link a new account management? No, you will not. So this is jumping the gun a little bit, but I'm going to go on and do it because this is where the question's coming in. Twitch will continue as a perfectly acceptable authentication provider. So you can log in with Twitch now and in the future. We have no plans to change that. However, we do plan as we get into 2019, and I'll actually disclose that this is something that we've had our eye on for a long time, and this was going to be happening whether this deal came to fruition or not. We are going to, in 2019, start adding other options for logging into D&D Beyond. So Google, Facebook, there are others that I'm probably not going to mention by name right now, just in case, we haven't completely finalized all the entire list of everything that we're going to provide for you to log into. But Google and Facebook are very safe assumptions. So yes, you're going to be able to log in using other types of authentication providers, and you will not lose anything. We will allow account linking any way you want that to happen. If you want to continue using our Twitch extension, which is some great stuff, check it out. You will need a Twitch account linked to your account for that to continue to work. I think that's pretty natural. But other than that, we're going to offer other types of login providers in 2019 going forward. No ETA on any of that yet, but we are going to be getting into it. Let's see. Generic Nerd. Will we be seeing a more streamlined dev process on these features given your new resources? I don't know what you mean by streamlined dev process, because it seems like you're accusing us of not having one now. The truth is that we have a very streamlined development process because we have been making a whole lot of stuff with a very limited number of people. For the first year and a half of DDB's existence, we had 5 developers working on everything that was being made. We have certainly started adding more and more to that at this point. But as I've shared over the course of the last couple of weeks, onboarding and spinning up takes some time. And we're trying to get our teams appropriately staffed to ensure that we can move forward into the future the best possible way that we can. Rigmarole. How does this affect subscriptions now and going forward? It is not going to impact subscriptions. There are some legal things that we're going to have to get into with GDPR and some of the new regulations, particularly in Europe. We'll have more information to share on that in the next few weeks. But again, if you are a user and you are active and you're coming in and you're able to opt into that, no interruptions of any sort would happen. But more information on how that might impact particularly Europe as we move forward here. Let's see. Alt F4 will help. I always love that one. Maybe this isn't the right place for it, but you mentioned that your team is expanding. What's the best way to apply to join the D&D Beyond team? Curse.com/careers will have all of the openings that we possibly have out there. Check that out. We also have a section where if you just think you're really good and we don't have an opening, we still like to hear about that kind of stuff. So I think there's a section on there where you can submit a resume, and I encourage anyone who is applying to work at Curse. First of all, man, this is a amazing gig. There is no job that I could possibly have that is better than this. But second of all, I encourage you to do a really, really good cover letter. Don't skip that cover letter. Cover letter is important. Be creative with it. All right. So, General Temujin. How will ads change? I think I already addressed that one pretty good. MJS October. How does the merger affect connection with Twitch? So I think I've addressed that a little bit too. We are still going to have our Twitch extension. We're going to actively develop for that when that makes sense. We are going to still use Twitch as a platform. We are still going to be friends with Twitch. They're going to be friends with us. There is a lot that makes sense about using Twitch. Twitch is the leader in game streaming, and there is no reason that we would not continue to have a very big partnership with them going forward into the future. So we will still be using Twitch, fans of Twitch, and vice versa. TJ Malt 421. Does this at all impact the contract with Wizards of the Coast? Curious about the future of my content on DDB. I can assure you that all the original legal contract, I almost said mumbo jumbo, but I guess that's a little derogatory and I probably shouldn't. But all of those things that happened in the beginning have ensured that this type of transaction has no impact on any of that. Curse is continuing to hold that license, and we're going to go forward into all these years and do so. Let's see. Halgari, will we have a way of switching to a new auth method? I'm the only one in my D&D group that uses Twitch, so it's been a hassle so far. So yes, the idea is that I'm assuming you're saying you'd like to switch from Twitch to possibly Google or whatever. Yes, we would provide a path for that when that time comes. Professor Nightshade, will there be a method to update payment options other than canceling our service and resubscribing? Again, we're going to have some more details about that. The intent is no, you would not have to cancel and resubscribe. But again, there could be some edge cases here that we're going to be providing more information about in the next few weeks. So keep an eye out for that. Chancellor 87, will this affect your relationship with Critical Role? No, we love those guys. Why on earth would we, would that impact any of this? No, we're big fans of Critical Role. We will continue working with them and they with us, and we're excited about the future there. All right. That might be all the questions on that topic for now. If you have other questions, we can get to them a little bit later in the show. So let's talk about some data. This is always exciting. So this was one that was requested many times, and so we decided to do it, and that is to, let me make sure, let's see, whoops, flashing screens, quit it. Wait a minute. I don't know where to go. Oh, here we go. Sorry. All right. So most popular named NPCs, Strahd von Zarovich, or Vic, is, I've said it Vich like my whole life. It's really hard not to. I used to read D&D instead of hearing D&D said everywhere. All right. So Strahd, the Count, is by a pretty healthy margin there, the top named NPC that gets viewed on D&D Beyond. Then you see some nice ones from the Lost Mine of Phandelver, from Horde of the Dragon Queen coming in here. Artist Simber has been very, very popular as well, as is Durnan and Baba Lysaga. Grotst and Zariel. Zariel's coming in there. That's an interesting one because that came in Mordenkainen's book there, and so Zariel has really kind of risen through the ranks, and this data is from about the last 90 days, so this gives us a good picture of that. So the hypothesis here is a lot of people are running Horde of the Dragon Queen and possibly Lost Mine of Phandelver, which is very, very interesting because that is not what we would expect to see. But either way, these are very popular monsters that are being viewed. You do see my boy Jarlaxle makes it on there at some point. And then Sir Bradford, that is very close to Sir Bradford. But Sir Bradford also makes the list, as does coming in really strong after Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica released Niv Mizzet. So yeah, these are the most popular named NPCs on D&D Beyond. I thought this was an interesting one, and we saw several people requesting this one, so I thought we would throw it into the kitchen sink today. All right, let's see. Users by country, we got this question recently on Twitter. I decided to do an update here. We did this several months ago, but this is the most up-to-date look at users by country for the last 90 days on D&D Beyond. You can see that the United States, as likely expected, is a pretty big part of that distribution. Canada, the United Kingdom, Australia, English-speaking, primarily English-speaking countries. But Brazil represents, and then we've got Germany, the Netherlands, Italy. There's a strong contingent of Italian D&D players out there that are very passionate. So thank you guys all the way through New Zealand here. So this is where we are with users by country, and that's a little bit of an update. We will provide this update periodically. We are really curious to see how this shakes out, and we are hoping that as we get into 2019 and we are able to do some more with translations, that is on the roadmap, and that is a hope that we can do something with those, that we can see some of these numbers begin to shift and change as we're able to provide that. And then finally, most visited pages on D&D Beyond. And it isn't terribly surprising to us that the digital character sheet is the top viewed page on DDB. This is really good for us to see, though, because if this was not the case, this means that we're doing many, many things wrong. But, you know, being able to see that it is viewed most of all at least reinforces and confirms that, okay, we're in a fairly good spot with what's going on with the character sheet and some of that character management. You see that the My Characters page is really big for that as well, because that is where you have to come in order to access that character to go to the digital sheet. So, having said this, this makes it interesting for us that My Characters is the second most viewed page on DDB. This makes it to where it helps us prioritize this. You guys have heard me talking about, even on a personal level for some time, that the My Characters page, I'm not happy with it. And I want to see us do some kind of overhaul of that page. And so this kind of data is the thing that helps me justify making some prioritization decisions about, hey, it's the second most viewed page on our site. We need to make it look and feel much better than it does right now. After that, you have the home page, and then you have races, interestingly enough. And then search is, you know, just the search page, not just the bar that you can type into at the top, but going to the dedicated search page is pretty high up there. You've got the character builder, and then campaigns. This is interesting. We're not in love with our campaigns page right now. So seeing that this is a prominent page that people are visiting and utilizing helps us prioritize potential changes to that. We get into Marketplace. I'm glad that Marketplace is up there because, yes, we do have to make some kind of money in order for D&D Beyond to be a thing. And so seeing it here makes sense, but it's also good for us to see that. And all the way through Homebrew Creations. And then apparently a lot of you want to update your nickname on the site. That was a surprising one, but it is a very viewed page on our site. And then it looks like this Blood Hunter is awfully popular because as far as the individual page goes, it gets more views than other classes in the system. So this is also a look at the most viewed pages on D&D Beyond. And the real takeaway here is it helps us make the decisions that we need to make for what's coming next, what's working, what's not working. This is the kind of data that we're looking at on a daily basis. And I wanted to share some of that with you all. Let's see if we have some data questions. If you do, you can try to send those to Obo Crazy right now. All right. Question on region. Benet UK, how does my using a VPN to rejoin, to region hop, affect these stats? Do you do it based on IP or details on the account? To be honest, I'm not 1000% sure here. I believe it is IP based. So if you are spoofing or otherwise modifying your IP, yes, we are probably counting you in another bucket. Saber Runner, you're just wanting all that Netflix in those other countries. Saber Runner, what is the current number of registered users on D&D Beyond? Want for context with users by country. We have not publicly shared those numbers yet, but you know what? I'm feeling pretty generous today. It's the holidays. I think we're somewhere around 1.7 million registered users on D&D Beyond, which has been very rapid growth over the course of the last year or two here. So we got 1.7 million users, registered users on D&D Beyond. And with that, I think that we're up to, very close to 8 million characters. So we got a lot of data that we are working with. Let's see, whitelist for campaigns. I still have no campaign books as my players are snoopers. We'll talk about content management a little bit later, so I'll table that one for a second. Agent Prometheus, are articles categorized singularly, or do you have data that groups them? I ask because I read most of the articles. Oh, I think I see what you're saying. So are we saying that, so yes, in this assessment here, we would be counting articles as a singular entity. So a single article is a single page. But there probably are some ways that we can look at trying to do that through tags to see if a certain tag or category is really popular. Part of that, though, is we want that tag system and category system to be dramatically improved in the future. So hopefully we're going to see that as we get into 2019. MJS October, what does the data say about platform usage? Where does Windows 10 fall? So I am not going to know that off the top of my head, but I can definitely tell you that, Windows obviously is a very prominent platform. 10 is going to be pretty prominent. And that might be an interesting look for a future update. We'll maybe add that to the list. Mileyman 1066, what are the most commonly equipped instruments? That's a great question, and we're going to have to add that to the list because I absolutely do not know, but that is a wonderful one. I will add that to the dev update in 2019 where I just come in and sing for an hour and play the guitar, and we will have that as the data update for that week. All right, looks like that's all the questions for the data so far. So we'll go to the next steps here. In progress. So as we've talked about, we've got reducing tech debt to ensure scalability. That activity is going on strong, and we've done a lot of updates here. Site navigation mega menus is in progress. We're hoping to resume that work when we come back from the holiday break. The encounter builder, we're getting the foundation in place. We showed off the kind of the beginning conceptualization, the wireframe last week. We're hoping to get that into alpha for subscribers in 2019. And then transition development, because of the recent news here, we do have a little bit of transition development and maintenance that's going to be needed as all of this transitions from one entity to another. So that is also in progress at the moment. So upcoming mobile beta, we're going to get the character sheet into the mobile beta. That's very important to us, and we're going to be working on that essentially when we return from the break. Some of that work is going to start. D&D Beyond Discord server, I talked about this last week, and we are going to provide a way for you to further connect with the community. Some of the developers are going to be active there on that Discord server, so that's going to be happening as well. And so keep an eye peeled for that. Nothing to share on when that's going to be available yet, But I started to say you might see that I have it open on my taskbar, but I guess you don't see my taskbar right now. But yeah, so we're working on that, and we're going to open that up to the public before terribly too much longer. Content management. So this is back to the question about the snoopers on the campaign. Content management is important to us. We're about to look at a wireframe for that, kind of the start of that. And you're going to be able to whitelist and blacklist those sources at the campaign level. And then, as I said before, additional login providers. We're going to have Twitch, we're going to have Google, we're going to have Facebook, and more. And then the rest of the list here, accessibility updates I've talked about, character builder, overhaul monster builder, that's on the list now because that is an upcoming thing. And then our homebrew revamp, making that a better experience to create content. Those are all things that are in the next category as we continue to move forward with the roadmap. All right, let's see. Let's look at this and then I'll collect some questions. So content management, you saw last week with the encounter builder. Given the complexity of the encounter builder, you'll see that there was much more going on the screen with the encounter builder. But with content management, you can see the thing that I really would like to call out is we're starting to standardize, and I really like this, with this concept of filters being in this left sidebar. This seems to really feel right. This is the kind of design that we could potentially, again, we haven't finalized this, but we could potentially start to see this kind of filtering even become part of our listings that we currently have on the site. Because for instance, with listings, right now we have them in this collapsible that you can expand for advanced filters. But in that, we are a little bit limited by space. With this kind of design, with filters on, inside the sidebar, there is the possibility for scrolling within that area that gives us a lot more ability to add filters that people have been asking for. So this is an example of how we are continually iterating our design to try to improve the user experience as much as we possibly can. And we think that this has got a really, really good feel to it, and it has tested well with a lot of our internal user experience testing and some of the other people that have been interviewed and brought into this process. So we're excited about that. On content management at a high level, you can see this manage and view over here to the, I'm not sure if you can see my mouse or not, but there it is, manage and view, kind of top right of the wireframe here. This is important because we're going to have this concept that you as a dungeon master will be able to go in and be in the manage view or manage mode of this. We'll use mode where we don't get confused, but the manage mode of this, and you will be able to set what is blacklisted or whitelisted. The way that's going to work is that all official content that you own by default is going to be whitelisted. You can, however, blacklist it if that is what your desire is. If you want to foil those snoopers, you will be able to blacklist that source. If it is other types of content, including homebrew or other additional content outside of official content, then you are going to need to whitelist that. So it's going to be blacklisted by default, and you'll whitelist that, and then that will be managed from this list. If you move over to view mode, that is where you can see the full list of what has been whitelisted and blacklisted, and then even your players in the campaign, if they ever have a question about what is available in the campaign, they would come in, they would not have the manage mode option there, they would have the view, and they would be able to see exactly what's going on there. All right, we're going to stop here and see if we have any questions on any of what's being shared there. Let's see. And then in the meantime, let's talk about, while you guys are asking questions, let's talk about the upcoming schedule. So we, this is going to be interesting. Watch me do this right here. Oh, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. Wait a minute. All right. So we're going to do this right here. We're going to edit this. We're going to do it live right now. All right. We're going to say Reddit AMA, and then I'm going to say, this is very new information here. And that is going to be, let's see, Monday, December 17th. Oh, that's my mom's birthday. I need to remember that. All right, so Monday, December 17th, from, let's see, what did I tell them? We're going to do, let's see, what is 1 my time? So we're going to say 11 a.m. Pacific time to about, we'll do 1 p.m. All right, there we go. So, in case you didn't hear, there's going to be a Reddit AMA. So if you don't get questions answered today, because we never have enough time for this stuff, feel free to keep an eye out Sunday or something. I think they'll be putting up. Oh, I need to tell you, this is important information. See what happens when you do something live. On the D&D Next sub. All right, we'll say that. I don't know if I'm even using the terms right. I might not be one of the cool kids, but on the D&D Next subreddit, Monday, December 17th, 11 a.m. Pacific time-ish. I think that the post will go up before that, and you can ask questions ahead of time, and then I come in and just answer a whole bunch of stuff. So join me for that, especially if you have questions that, for whatever reason, I'm not going to get to today, probably a time reason. Okay, so Twitch schedule. This is our last stream of this year. It has been a wonderful year, but we're going to take a holiday break, let everybody recharge their batteries. I'm looking forward to some time off. I might get to finish the 5 video games that I have on. I know I'll never get to 5, but I really hope I can get to 1. But yeah, it's going to be a good couple of weeks here that we're going to be taking off and recharging the batteries and getting ready for all the amazing stuff that's going to happen in January. But with the Twitch schedule, we will resume that on Monday, January 7th with Todd Talks. And then we will have a Heroes of the Veil episode on, the 9th, I think. And then on the 10th, we will have our first dev update of the year. I sincerely wish everyone happy holidays. Hope you have a wonderful break as well. We are going to give away. Oh, we got some questions. I'm going to just tease everybody and leave up the legendary bundle slate for just a second here. All right, so Kurt, sorry. Is there any work going on in the equipment sections? To be specific, will it be possible to give a location of where equipment will be stored? Example, in the cart drawn by a mule. Yes, we want to get into inventory management enhancements in 2019. I have no ETA when we're going to be able to get to that, but that is one of those situations that if I'm looking down the list of roadmap items and big initiatives, we've got everything that you're seeing in the upcoming box here, and then somewhere in the next, section about like that on my spreadsheet, equipment management enhancements is in there somewhere. So it's not too far off from us starting work on something like that. Now, I want to be really clear. When we start to look at that, that is not going to be something that we're going to fix everything and have everything revamped and in this wonderful place all at one time. It's going to be an iterative process, but we're going to start that process at that point in time in 2019. Dr. Snoots with the Encounter Manager, do you also allow for handout treasures to be mapped to those encounter? The handout thing, I have to triple check to see where that falls. It is on the list, but I can tell you that treasure parcels and all of that is something that we really, really want to get into, even the alpha. So that is the intent. Both of those would be in there over time. General Temujin. Does the black and white list cover the entire campaign, or can you break it down by players? Oh, whitelisting, blacklisting. I see what you're saying. So, wow, you just want to be withholding to some of your players and not to others? We might need to talk about, game etiquette. No, I'm kidding. So, at the moment, this is at the campaign level. If we see enough demand and interest in doing it at a smaller breakout level than that, we can certainly review that and see if it makes sense. And then random questions after this. All right, so that's my trigger that we can go back and give away a legendary bundle. So we're going to do this. And in order for you to qualify to potentially be chosen, you need to type something in chat. And I always get really, really happy to see someone type something in chat. You don't have to say those specific words. You can say whatever you would like to say. You can say ho, ho, ho. You can say happy holidays. You can say, I'm so excited about the future. You can say whatever you'd like to say, but you need to say it. And we're going to give this away in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I hope my producer is there. John Nesper. Is that John Nesper? All right, he's typing this. So John, oh, which one? He's talking to me in my ear. I'm not talking to myself. Oh, I've got it. Yeah, it's John Nesper, maybe. John Nesper. You won a legendary bundle. We will get with you after the show to award that. Congratulations. All right. Let's get into a few questions and then see what happens. We've got 10 minutes. Wow, that is so much time. We're going to be able to do so much with that. All right, here we go. Both Letter Magoon and Ramos SA ask, is there going to be a DDB translation to Portuguese? I can help with that. I am almost positive, I would have to look back at the list, that Wizards of the Coast is trying to work on that right now, if it's not already done. But I could be wrong there. But if Wizards of the Coast makes it available, the intent is that we would also make it available as soon as we can iron out some technical issues that we're trying to solve with how we would present those to users is really the major thing that we're trying to figure out right now. But if Wizards of the Coast supports it, then we would follow suit. Igaretti, do you plan to support magic items with multiple single-use abilities, such as the Klee Lyre? Those currently have a shared pool of uses instead, and I was told that the underlying system does not support the multiple single-use cases. That's a very specific question, and I actually know exactly what you're talking about. And the answer is yes, we want to support that. It is on the list. There is a list with a whole lot of things on it, and we aren't always able to address the items on the list, in the order they're received. We have to prioritize them based on perceived impact and a variety of other things. That is on the list. I'm not exactly sure when we're going to be able to get to it, but it's certainly on the list, and we hopefully will get to that before too long. MileyMan1066. Any work or plans for work on allowing homebrew on things like fighting styles, eldritch invocations, druid land circles, barbarian totems, hunter wow, this is a comprehensive list. Elemental disciplines, pact boons, or etc. All right, so I'm going to tell our developers right now, because we were talking about this just a few days ago. I want to tell them to just come into chat, grab your list, and then we're going to work from that to make sure that we're covering all the options. But ultimately, what you're talking about there is what we just call class feature options. And so, yes, the plan is we want to allow you to homebrew those in the future. We have some considerations with exactly how we would display those elements for you to be able to share with the community and what makes sense. So, for instance, if we're making an Eldritch Invocation, does this mean that we have an entire listing only for Eldritch Invocations? Do we have an entire listing only for elemental disciplines and so on? That seems to really bloat our listings concept and what we're trying to go with there. Do we then somehow incorporate those into the current subclasses listing, since they technically belong to classes? That presents its own set of challenges, because how will someone know that something is an Eldritch Invocation versus a subclass? At least easily at a glance, how would they know that? And so those are the UI and UX issues and problems that we're working through right now and trying to solve. The actual setting up to allow those things to be homebrewable is not as hard as figuring out how to distribute it to the users in a way that makes sense, in a way that's not going to paint us into a corner for years and years to come. But very good question. We intend to get to that. We're trying to figure out the best way to go about it. Blind Temple 15, what accessibility changes are coming for D&D Beyond? This is a really big question. It's something that is important to us. It is something that we are trying to figure out how to phase the approach. And we're also trying to consult with some external parties to try to make sure that we're meeting the needs that we need to with accessibility. I can tell you that the first part of this will absolutely include things like alt image text and descriptors on all images, and making sure that if there's a link, it's going to show you where that, or show you textually for a screen reader to be able to pick it up. All of those things are things that we are working on trying to get in place, as well as image descriptors, because those will have to be written in some cases, because Wizards of the Coast doesn't always have a subtitle to an image. So all of that is something that we are trying to figure out the best way to wrap our arms around it and get into that. But we will start seeing some of that start to take place in 2019. And then where we go from there, we want to engage users in the community that potentially have accessibility issues to help us talk directly with the community that are experiencing these challenges, to make sure that we are adequately covering those challenges. So we're trying to mobilize a plan and execute on it about how we would go about that as well. So keep an eye peeled for more information about that. We'd love for anyone to participate that can help with that when that time comes. Where are we? Vegas Vic 0891. Will more third-party content be coming in the future, like Kobold Press, for example? This is a persistent one. I love this question. So, as I have said many times before, I would love to see some of this content from third parties be on D&D Beyond. There are a lot of complicated issues that have prevented us from being able to do that to this point, but I am patient, and I am tireless, and I am steadfast and stalwart. We are going to see what happens over the course of time. But no, we can't do it right now. Fear Napalm, I think, is how that is supposed to go. Any chance we may see an increase in the number of campaigns we can have? I am assuming you can have an unlimited number of campaigns if you subscribe, or possibly even if you don't subscribe. I'd have to look at that again. But I am assuming you're saying the increase in number of campaigns that you can have where you can enable content sharing. And we have no plans for that currently. We are taking a very hard look on how the breakdown of those sharing slots works currently. And there may be some changes coming to that in the future, but nothing to share yet. Aggie Bear, has Adventures League character log development not is Adventures League character log development not in the plan anymore? Yeah, it's absolutely in the plan. I hopefully I haven't given the impression that it is not in the plan. Another note is, just because you don't see something listed in this single slide where I barely have space, please do not assume that that means it's not something that we care about and something that we want to get to. But yes, we have intentionally been trying to understand how Adventures League is going for these last few months, especially with a lot of the changes. Once we feel like there is plenty of stability there, we're going to jump into Adventures League validation, potentially, not potentially, log sheets. It's just a matter of what order those things take. But I imagine we'll start to see that pretty early in 2019. So pretty high on the prioritization list. So it looks like we barely have any time left here. I wanted to leave everyone with a quick message. If I did not get to your question, you can apparently join me on Reddit on Monday. You can ask me on Twitter at BadEyeAdam. I am happy to answer any of these questions. I don't really shy away from anything. So ask away. But one thing that I wanted to leave everyone with is, it has been a wonderful year. I really am the most blessed person on the planet. I love my job. I love the teams that I work with here on D&D Beyond. I have never worked with a better group of people. They are incredible. We are all so passionate about this game that we all love. It has been a wonderful journey so far. Even more excited about what's coming next year. We've got so many wonderful plans. We've got a vision that is so clear that we can taste it, and we're going to be chasing that with reckless abandon in 2019. Cannot wait for that. And then the very last thing I'll say, I'm not trying to be religious or political or anything remotely like that, but I know that sometimes the world feels like there's a lot of darkness out there, but light overcomes darkness. And in the words of one of my favorite songs, let's all light up where we can scare away the dark. You guys have a good one. We'll see you on the flip side.